You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Listening to the Bells of Liberty podcast, where freedom rings and the sassiness stings. Stay tuned for a little bit of sassy freedom. Hello, and welcome to the Bells of Liberty on Lanterns Radio Network. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jana, joined by my fellow Bells, Sammy and Courtney.
Hi.
Hey.
Tonight we're going to be discussing the unsurprising but no less infuriating lack of honest, good-intentioned leadership in our country, as well as the equally unsurprising and honestly terrifying evil found across the globe in despotic leaders that blatantly have their opposition murdered in the streets, rather than face the possibility that if given a choice, no one would willingly want them to continue in office. Our latest constitutorial will be focusing on Section 7 of Article 1, which is oddly appropriate since Section 7 focuses on government and money. And you guessed it, currently the argument in Washington is about money and potentially shutting down because of it. And we'll end it all off with everyone's favorite, or maybe just ours, but that doesn't make it any less awesome. Ring the Bell, where we spend the last few minutes of our show talking about stories from the week that got us riled up. So, as promised, what's the latest in Seattle, Courtney?
Well, Seattle's a hot mess. And no, I'm kidding. I mean, I probably could leave it there and everybody would, that would be fine because it is a hot mess. So the latest thing that really got me, well, several stories have come out of Seattle. But the first one that I wanted to discuss was this Councilwoman Sawant. I think that's how she says her name. She has come out wanting Seattle to publicly support the riots. I mean, protests. I feel like we need that video where the guy talks about, if it's a riot or protest, the angry cops guy. That would go perfect right here because they call it protests and demonstrations, but we all know that they're riots. And it's a little stressful for me too because I have a friend who is a Seattle police officer. So anytime anything happens there, I kind of freak out a little bit. And I appreciate that he checks in via Facebook, lets everybody know he's okay. But it would be nice that it didn't have to come to that. And it would be really super nice if this councilwoman wouldn't encourage public demonstrations such as shutting down the freeways and shutting down the airport. And she had everybody sign, or the council unanimously passed a resolution to give all the city workers, city employees, an unpaid day off to participate in the demonstration. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But on the other hand, we recently just had two police officers shot, and I don't remember any councilmen coming out in full support for these guys and anything like that. There was no full court press for these guys. The mayor came out and said some stuff. I personally think that the mayor this is probably me just being jaded, but I personally think that the mayor was there to fully support, or be there for the press because he's trying to show what a good guy he is and take away from the fact that he's now has, I think, 3 people that are accusing him of soliciting sex from them when they were minors. So Seattle is loads of fun, I guess, right now.
Well, and people need to understand. So this city councilwoman, she's an idiot. She's an open socialist.
Yeah,
that's what the platform she ran on. She won off of the minimum wage 15. I don't remember the catchy slogan they had, but fight for 15. Yeah. And she is just completely off her rocker. Anytime she can say something inflammatory in any situation, she takes advantage of it.
She really does. She has a history. You're completely right, Sammy.
And made if people don't know, so in Seattle for the last 4 years, there have been really huge, quote unquote, protests that have ended in vandalism. And like Courtney, I have people who own businesses in Capitol Hill and in downtown Seattle. And I'm always in contact with them on May Day saying, did you board up your windows? Are you in like the restaurant right now? Because it gets really violent and it can turn at any second. They start lighting things on fire. They threw a brick through the Walgreens window. They smashed the Nike store, even though they were wearing Nike shoes, because capitalism. So
capitalism bad. Let's grab some more things that we already bought.
Right. So, I mean, it's just really Seattle. I love Seattle. The weather is great. People don't really talk to you that much.
Yes.
But their politics and their antics are horrific.
They really are. And I was, another thing as I was researching this topic, just an example, the Seattle PD has been trying to update their building, and they've been met with, how you have town meetings and stuff like that to discuss changes, because, it's your city. You should be able to say what changes happen. Well, these guys protest. These guys are really off their rocker. Like, I've seen some of the stuff that they say that, like, I think I watched a part of the town meeting. They think that a new building would show everyone that Seattle is trying to militarize the police. And basically, I think they said everything except black helicopters are going to come down and steal people away in the middle of the night. So Seattle PD was accused of, they've been denied this new building, which would be an update, not just like they want to have a prettier building, but they need updates, like safety updates and this kind of stuff, and they need to make a safer place. And so they've been met with opposition. And so in light of that, they're trying to accommodate the people who are protesting this new building. And they came up with the original proposal was $89 million for the updated building. Now all of a sudden it's $149 million. It's a 67% increase. Why, do you ask? Is it such an increase? Well, because now to help make everybody happy in there, they want a rain garden. They want a yoga room. They want they don't want any SPD markings at all on the building. It has to basically just be this building that exists. I guess if you are running for your life or something and you need to know that building is the police department, good luck with that. I don't know. And there was one other thing in here that, I think it was there was a rooftop garden or something that they wanted too. So it's, that would be the weirdest police department I ever went into, but, Seattle is really out of control. It needs some leadership that's not a mayor who has got sex abuse allegations against him and the union saying that it's perfectly okay to cover that up or to support him because Trump. That was literally their excuse for not disavowing the mayor because Trump.
Because Trump has had sexual harassment and abuse allegations thrown at him, or what?
Exactly. They say if evangelicals can support Trump, this was quoting the union, and we can put the link up for the article that I read it from. I think it was Red State. They said if evangelicals can support Trump in light of what he has done, then I think that we can afford that same whatever, I don't know what he said, to the mayor in light of these allegations.
Okay, so these are the same people who told us that we can't overlook this kind of crap when it's a Republican doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't overlook that. That's horrible. But because it was okay for him, it's okay for this guy. That really frustrates me, because at what point do you ever have morals? Just because people voted for Trump doesn't mean that it was the right thing to do.
Correct.
So why is it the right thing to support a man who's got sexual harassment / abuse allegations being thrown at him, why wouldn't you want to clear your name? If that were me and I really didn't do it, I'd be like, oh, hell no. We are investigating this and we're clearing my name because that is absolutely false. And I'm not going to let you run my name through the mud to prove your point. So if these people really think this person is worth supporting, why wouldn't you want it investigated to clear said person?
Well, Mayor Murray is, I think he's the first openly gay Seattle mayor. And these are not just sexual allegations with consent, with adults. It's with minors. And there's also
so at least Trump has something up on that because they've never, his accusers have all been, grown women. So if we really want to play that game, at least it's, adults and not, 10-year-olds.
And the thing is, I feel like the where we draw the line keeps moving, and it's gross. Like someone was telling me about now they're trying to push for LGBTQP, and the P stands for pedophilia. And they are using this argument that if an 8-year-old can know that they're trans, then why can't a 12-year-old consent to sex?
You know what?
And I'm like,
that argument is based off of pure crap, though. There is no evidence supporting that an 8-year-old can actually decide that they're trans at 8. That is the left pressing their crappy ideals and ideologies onto these kids who then think, well, mom and dad say it's okay, so I should probably be a girl now, or I should be a boy. There's nothing showing that they're actually capable of making that decision. I work with little kids, okay? Every second of the day, they want to be something that is physically impossible for them to be. They walk in the morning, they want to be a unicorn, they leave, they want to be Batman. They're not capable of thinking that. And I know this is kind of off topic and whatever, but it just irritates me that they support their stupid thought process with more of their stupid thought processes. They don't actually have viable arguments with any kind of fact to back it up. We're just supposed to go with it because, well, that's what we felt like today, and that's right. It's just stupid. Did I mention it was stupid?
But, I can understand them using that argument, though. I'm not saying that I'm not okay with any of it, but I'm saying I totally see that if they're saying it's okay for an 8-year-old to figure out that they're trans, why wouldn't they be able to be, old enough to decide if they can be in a relationship with someone older? So it's when you deny science and when you deny common sense, you're going to run into these things all the time. And that's why life feels like it's completely booby-trapped, because you can't, if you just make good, clear lines and stick to those, it actually works. But when you splitting hairs, sorry, that's the phrase I was looking for. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I would think also the Democrats saying that it's completely not okay for Trump to act this way. I would think that because they're trying to say, well, what's the term they're using now? They go low, we go high. So if Trump is being accused, or admitted these things that he's done, wouldn't you want to be the exact opposite of him and say, we don't accept this, and we're going to, we take this seriously, and we're not going to be like, the Republicans or whatever. I mean, that's what I would say if I was a Democrat.
Well, I mean, the Republicans took down Milo for just joking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. And now we have a Democrat mayor in Seattle who they won't even address the issue. They're basically saying that we are not even going to justify it with a response, at least as of what I've read. They're like, we're not going to he's like, if we just talk about it, then it gives them credibility or something. And I just think about all of the women who are accusing people, and they're like, you're shaming the victim, you're whatever.
Yeah, right. I was just going to say that we have to believe them. How many times have we been told if they say they've been sexually assaulted, we have to believe them? So why wouldn't we do the same for these people who are coming forward and saying this guy did something to me?
Yeah.
Hello.
He literally bribed them with drugs.
Yeah,
I will give you drugs if you have sex with me.
Well, speaking of being corrupt politicians, we are going to move into a break, and our next topic is going to talk about people all over the world being equally terrible.
Yay!
Welcome back to the Bells of Liberty on Lanterns Radio Network. I am Sammy, and I'm in charge of the next topic, so take that for whatever it's worth. I am kind of obsessed with what's going on around the world, not just with what's right in front of our faces with North Korea and Afghanistan and Russia. So I wanted to kind of share a little bit of what I've been watching happen, especially as our political circus this past year had crazy allegations of corruption. Obviously, we're still dealing with Donald Trump and his Russia connection, but there are countries who are actually worse than us. So Transparency International is a group that rates countries and their corruptiveness, I guess. That's not really a word, but their level of corruption. And they base this off of public power being used for personal gain. And as of right now, the U.S. is sitting at number 18 least corrupt country in the world. The highest we've ever ranked has been 24th, and that was in the year 2011 when our Lord and Savior Barack Obama was at the helm. And interestingly enough, when Satan's brother himself, George W. Bush, was president, we were the lowest we've ever been at 14. So I just want to say, when you guys, are saying that Republicans are corrupt and evil and whatever, we peaked when you guys were in charge. And it was fully Democrat controlled, because in the 2012 election is when Republicans got back in the House. So, go figure.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that an unbiased opinion said that there are countries that are more corrupt than the U.S. I mean, because if you watch the news and you listen to millennials, we are, Babylon, essentially.
Or the Great Satan.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the least corrupt country in the world today is Denmark. Not surprising.
But they don't have a lot of people because they're killing all of them. Just saying.
Well, right. And this is, like I said, it's based off of corruption using public power for personal gain, not morals. So when
you separate it like that, I mean.
Yeah. So the top 5 are very predictable. It's Yemen, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, I think, was in the top 5 most corrupt. So not that right. I mean, it's not that difficult to, the countries that are ruled by theocracies and I mean, it's just not that hard to believe. North Korea obviously was in the top 5 as well. That rounded out the top 5. So, everyone's favorite topic is Russia right now. So hot right now. I forgot Courtney's trying to learn Russian, so she's colluding.
I'm pretty sure she's a spy. Right? She is a Russian spy. Notice how she's not denying it.
I know, she just laughed.
That's so funny that she would think I'm a Russian spy. I mean, really. Yeah.
So, obviously, we know recent history, Putin had allegedly, that's air quotes, allegedly, had one of his political opponents gunned down in the street.
Oh, he totally did.
And in March of this year, over 500 people were arrested for trying to protest against the corruption in their leadership. So Russia's not doing themselves any favors.
Well, and this is a little side note too. They just sentenced I don't know how old he was. I think he's like under 30 years old. He's a Russian blogger. They just sentenced him to like 10 years in jail or something for playing Pokemon, like going to play Pokemon in a church. Like he went, like, I mean, I don't even understand that. Russia's weird in that regard because they're not really about religion, but how dare you play Pokemon in church? Like, what?
Yeah, no, they're crazy. I mean, also just this week, actually, their former anti-corruption police chief was sentenced to 22 years for corruption charges. So,
oh man,
they just can't get it together. And then, in the last couple of years, Thailand's prime minister has been ousted for corruption. Oh, yeah. And then her brother took over. So she's still got her dirty little fingers in the political sphere there. She's just, quote unquote, excommunicated right now. But her brother's in charge. And then you have South Korea's president just was taken out of office for corruption. So that's cute. Obviously, Erdogan is making moves in Turkey, turning it more into a dictatorship. Assad is gassing his own people. But my personal favorite case study of corruption to look at in the last year is South Africa. And Jacob Zuma is the president of South Africa right now. And he currently is facing over 770 corruption charges.
What? Like charges, not allegations, but
charges. The Supreme Court or whatever, the High Court of South Africa, has gone and said, no, we're not going to just dismiss these. You're going to have to answer for them because he's been spending money like nobody's business. And he just fired the finance minister of South Africa. And when he did that, their currency basically buckled.
Oh,
and this
my
was
gosh.
in the last month. The rand dropped 6% in like overnight. So he's quite a character. Right now, they are saying that he will have to step down on his own before the election in 2019. But he just held a rally for himself.
Gosh.
I'm not even kidding. Like,
the whole point of you're doing it wrong. That meme was created specifically for situations like this. You're doing it wrong.
Oh my gosh.
He's ridiculous. And so the rally, he promised people free food, and T-shirts with his name on them.
Oh my God.
And at the rally, it's actually pretty scary. So at the rally, he was saying to fix their problem, they are going to seize land from the white South Africans. And if they have a problem, even he said, if the black South Africans try and defend them, they're actually racists. So they need to just get on board because the white people stole the land first. So people think that South Africa is this big beacon for racial harmony because of how publicized the ending of apartheid was in the 90s. But it's not much better than it was.
Wow. You're openly just saying, hey, these guys are white. They're not the same color as us. Let's go ahead and take and do you I kind of feel like that's like the end goal of Black Lives Matter. A little side note there. I feel like,
well, okay, so this is why I wanted to highlight what's going on in South Africa because feels so parallel. So in the fall, right around when we were having our election, we weren't really paying attention, but this is when the court ruled about Zuma having to face his 770 plus corruption charges. Okay. People were going crazy in the streets and saying if this ruling's not upheld, we're going to make our cities ungovernable.
Wow.
Which sounds very similar to a group of people in our own country.
Yeah. Shut down the highway, shut down the airports.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And, I guess I'm more interested in this because my best friend from high school is white and lives in South Africa right now, just has a newborn baby. So I'm like a little nervous, but this isn't the first time there's been this kind of talk in South Africa. When Nelson Mandela died, there was a mandate going around saying if every Black person shot one white person, there'd be no more white people in South Africa. And people actually had plans on how to get out of the country secretly. Like
That's ridiculous.
My friend lives in basically a compound. She has 10 feet high walls with barbed wire on top. That's where she lives.
And is she military or something?
No, she's a vet. She works at and I can't think of the word right now, animal sanctuary.
So she's just she's just a citizen, and she has to live in a compound. She has to be barricaded in so that she isn't shot in the street because of her skin color.
Right.
That's amazing.
Zuma is going crazy. So at the same time, there's open bounties in South Africa for people who go after rhino horns. Just last I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, he legalized open trading of rhino horns in South Africa.
What?
This guy is crazy. And if people want to talk about Russia collusion, so Russia just made a deal with him to make the travel between their two countries a lot easier.
That's awesome.
Oh, cool. That's just what everybody needs.
I know. So I'm like looking at South Africa and I'm like, is this America? Is this like a very high exposure glimpse into America's future if we don't get our crap together? Because it's just
I was just thinking that when you said that, I do think there are people here now that are cool with the thought of white people just being gunned down in the streets because we're so terrible. I mean, I'd like to believe that we're smart enough and it's such a small population that it doesn't happen, but we've already seen reports of someone recently who did shoot people simply because they were white, and he admitted to it. So, I do think that's around the corner if we can't get it together and get people to understand that this is not the way our country needs to function. It doesn't work. It shouldn't work. Look at what's happening everywhere else. I don't know why people are so blind to all of these horrible things happening in other countries and not seeing how that could easily happen to us. We're a special country, but that if we go down the same path as everybody else, we're going to end up the same as everybody else. The whole point of us is to be different. So I do see the validity of that becoming a problem in the future, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, no, it's definitely unsettling to watch this go down. Like I said, I obviously have a little bit of skin in the game because my friend lives there, but he even has said, if you get in the way of our nation building, where have we heard that term before? We heard it throughout our election, accusations towards the right of populism and nation building and all this stuff. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities. And I feel like not enough people know what's going on in the world. Like a crazy amount of world leaders have been ousted from office on corruption charges. Meanwhile, we throw mud at our politicians, but we have no proof. There's no, but we're willing to burn our cities down anyway.
I think that if we put half of that energy towards knowing the world around us, we would be like an amazing, unstoppable, fantastic country. And that's the disappointing thing, is when you see like these kids being ridiculous like that.
Right. Well, we are going to have to leave it there. We can talk about how great America is on the other side of this break when we go into our constitutorial.
listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Welcome back to the Bells of Liberty on Lanterns Radio Network. It is time for our constitutorial segment, and this week it is on Article 1, Section 7, and Jaina is going to break it down for us.
Okay, so what I found about Section 7 is that it's really, really boring. But it is relevant, and especially relevant given how things are going this week. In regards to our government and what's going on with them. But essentially, the three clauses of Section 7 of Article 1 is in regards to bills of revenue and essentially what power the president has to veto. So in Clause 7.1, all it says is that all bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but that the Senate may propose or can concur with amendments as they would on other bills. So if they're looking at raising our taxes or making any changes to the current budget, blah, 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 the House has to come up with it, has to go through the Senate, and then it gets sent to the President. Which leads into Clause 2, which is also known as the Presentment Clause, because once the revenue bill has passed through the House and the Senate, it has to be presented to the President of the United States. The President then has 10 days, excluding Sundays, to either sign or disapprove of the bill. So if he doesn't, and I say he, meaning we currently have a male president. I'm not saying girls can't be president too. I'm just saying we currently have a male president.
And have always had male presidents.
Right, and you know what? Probably not a bad thing. Because if I were president, nothing would ever get done. Ever. Too much multitasking. So anyway, if the president disapproves of the bill, and this has become known as vetoing despite that word not appearing in Article 1, it goes back to the House with his objections, then does not become law unless both houses have 2/3 vote to override the president's veto. So both the House of Representatives, and the Senate both have to have a 2/3 vote in order to override a president's veto. So there are two things that can happen with this if the president doesn't just straight up sign off on something or send it back for them to try again. If the president chooses not to sign but does not veto it by sending it back to the House of Representatives, if he does not do that within 10 days, the bill becomes law anyway. He's just chosen not to sign it. And this is called a default enactment. However, this can also happen if, let's say, the House of Representatives in Congress decide to send a bill to the president within 10 days of them adjourning. So if he does not get back to them by the time they've adjourned their session, this also becomes law because he's missed his deadline, even though he didn't have a choice. And this is called a pocket veto, which I'm not quite sure why it's called a pocket veto. I tried looking into that, but a lot of it was like lawyer speak, and I don't speak that. So I'm not entirely sure. I just think it sounds cute. So like my little pocket veto, I don't know. I'm just kind of into it. So anyway, that's Clause 2, turning a bill into law. And then 7.3, Clause 3 of Section 7, pretty much just says that any order, resolution, or vote, so any bill, anything that the House of Representatives and the Senate wants to pass into law, has to be put in front of the president. So it doesn't matter if it's about money, it doesn't matter if it's just about law or making amendments to the Constitution and so on and so forth. Anything they want to put into law has to go to the president, and then he has to be given the opportunity to say yay or nay to it. And then if he does veto it, then the House of Representatives and Senate has to go back to that 2/3 vote in order to override his veto. The president may sign a bill, veto it, or do nothing, but he himself may not amend the bill and then re-sign it, and then sign it.
I wonder if Obama knew that.
I'm sure he didn't. Pretty sure Obama wasn't quite in the know about how law works in general. So anyway, little tidbit before we get into how this applies to today. Fun factoid is Grover Cleveland vetoed over 400 bills during his first term in office, and apparently and we've all decided that this would be Sammy. She'd be vetoing everything, and to be honest, I think all of us would too. We'd get in there and be like, nope, veto, 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 veto. So he vetoed He vetoed over 400 bills during his first term in office, and Congress only overrode 2 of those vetoes. So something tells me he might have had a point, or maybe they just gave up. I don't know. One of those. Meanwhile, 7 presidents in the history of presidents have never used the veto power. And in total, there have been 2,560 vetoes, including my little pocket vetoes. So, anyway, that was the most interesting thing I could find about this, guys. I'm sorry. As soon as it comes to finances, I'm like... So I hope that was educational. It is relevant to today because this week, obviously, there was fear that there was going to be a government shutdown because they weren't going to come to an agreement on certain budget cuts and so on and so forth. And so anybody who has any kind of job that's paid for through the government was kind of like, oh my God, am I going to be employed? I don't know. And that's kind of how it went, or if they were going to get a check. So it is relevant. So I'll open it up to you guys how you think or feel about this, and go from there.
I just want to point out that I think Grover Cleveland is the grumpy cat of the presidents. Just saying. And I probably would get along very well with Mr. Cleveland. That's my take on that.
Yeah, I can't remember if we like Grover Cleveland or not. If he's on the same, like anywhere near Coolidge, or if he's more of a Wilson. Like we don't care for him. Actually. We don't care for Woodrow Wilson.
I feel like nobody knows because he didn't do anything. He just was like, "No, just chill, guys.
We're gonna everything.
Just stay where we're at."
And
then the next guy can be accountable for whatever happens.
That would totally be me as president. I'm just gonna fly under the radar for a little while, and hopefully the next guy is a jackass. So that's Twitch
Swear jar.
Well, you know what? I kind of want all presidents to be like that. I kind of want them all to be like, you know what? I'm just going to play it cool and let the next guy take the fall and do stupid stuff. And I'm just going to stay out of it because I feel like less bad things happen that way.
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I just found a picture of Grover Cleveland, and you're not wrong about him being grumpy cat.
He's grumpy cat?
I will post this on the Twitter. He is a grumpy cat. Okay, continue.
But yeah, going back to the budget portion, as we've talked about, Patty Murray has been my senator, and it's been my mission to get her out of office. Obviously, I'm no longer in Washington, so I'm the one who gave on that give and take. But she is on the Senate Budget Committee. But the only thing she ever talks about is women's rights. And I'm like, can you either just get off that committee or be a little more budget minded? So it's no shock to me that we were up against the deadline yet again for the budget being passed, deciding on how to fund the government for another week. That's all they did was another week. So we'll be in the same position again next week. And as a military family, that's where our paycheck comes from. So when the government is in jeopardy of getting shut down, we get all these notifications like, oh yeah, you can go to USAA and get a 0% interest loan, emergency loan, so you can pay your rent that we control also. Like awesome, guys. So yeah, I mean, on one hand, I'm like, just let it shut down. Like, let them not do anything for a while. But on the other hand, I'm like, I want to pay my rent. It's great.
It is difficult to be like totally on board when you know it's going to affect you. But I don't understand why they have to shut down over anything. Honestly, get your crap together. Get this stuff figured out. I don't understand why a shutdown should be the, I'm shivering. Oh no, they're going to shut down. I don't understand why that happens or why that should ever be a threat at this point.
Well, and they always talk about non-essential employees. And I'm like, if we have non-essential employees,
why are they
there? Yeah, like, I mean, if the government, quote unquote, shut down, my husband still has to go to work. Nothing changes except our bank account number, Right.
Yeah.
But yet the people who are the ones who could control whether it's shut down or not don't need the money. Like the people in Congress are fine financially. They have money. It's just inconvenient for them, and it makes them look bad if they don't do something. So it's so annoying to me.
My boss, I've had bosses before because I've worked jobs, and my boss called non-essential employees fired. Or let go, So, I don't understand why the government gets have non-essential employees.
Yeah, it's good question. Good question. And obviously, we still have that freeze on filling government positions that have been vacated at some point, right? That was something Donald did that like we're on a first name basis. Donald did that on his first day. That he froze hiring.
Donald.
Yeah, I know, the Donald. He put a freeze on hiring people to fill positions that people had left, whether they were fired or retired or something on that lines. I don't know if that's still going on or not, but obviously we're still functioning. So It's entirely possible the government is got too many people as it is on its payroll.
Well, speaking of freezing, we got to stop because we're running into a break. But when we come back, it's going to be Ring the Bell. Welcome back to the Bells of Liberty. We are about to enter into our favorite segment, Ring the Bell. Okay, so last week we had some polls on Twitter for our topics that I want to share the results of. So Jana's story last week had to do with guinea pigs being mistaken for grow houses for marijuana.
It's a very big problem, guys. You have no idea. Huge problem.
25% of poll takers agreed that it is the new gateway drug. 25% said, I can quit guinea pigs whenever I want. But 50% of you are in denial and you say you don't have a problem with guinea pigs. So
they're lying.
I know. At least if there were only 4 people who took the poll, Jana couldn't have voted twice. So
I tried to get my guinea pigs to come down and each put in their own vote, so we would have had at least 7 other votes, but it just didn't work out. They said, nah, I'm not about that life. I got to get back to my marijuana. So sorry, guys.
And my topic had to do with ICE recruiting veterans to go after child molesters, which 30% of you replied, hooah, which that's Army speak for, yeah, they better be scared. And 30% said they better say your prayers. So there was no wrong option to pick there.
Actually, ma'am, was it really 30 and 30? I thought it was 70 and 30.
Did I say 30?
Uh-huh. Just check.
70 and 30.
Wow, does not even know the results of her own poll. That's kind of sad.
My glasses are faked. And Courtney's topic had to do with the latest fad diet, because a politician / Olympian in the UK was praising people starving. So 69% of you voted that the Venezuelan socialist diet is going to be the next craze. 19% said it's going to be North Korean straight up starvation. And 12% of you said it's going to be ISIS decapitation diet. Lose weight by losing your head. So yeah, those are our results we'll have new polls up this week for our brand new topics, and Gina's going to kick us off.
Okay, so not going to lie, when I saw this story, I didn't believe it, because I saw it probably a few days ago, and I'm like, no, it's got to be one of those, like, fake news, alternative fact things. It can't be real. And then I saw it in several different places, and so I'm totally on board with it being true. I just thought it was fake to begin with. So apparently, earlier this week, wild hogs managed to attack ISIS militants, mauled 3 of them to death, and injured 5 more outside of the town of Kirkuk in northern Iraq. Apparently, they had bedded down in some reeds and were preparing to ambush an anti-ISIS brigade of local tribesmen. But as they were waiting, the hogs overran them because they had disturbed their field, I guess. And anybody who knows anything about wild boars or hogs in general know they're not nice. I mean, even normal domesticated pigs are not that nice. But wild pigs are flat out will rip your face off if they have the opportunity to. So, again, not going to lie, totally on board with this happening. So I guess ISIS took a little while to recover their fallen brethren. And I'm a little sad they did shoot the hogs. So I'm like, damn it. Why didn't our anti-ISIS people go and recruit them? Why didn't we bring them on board and be like, all right, take out ISIS, guys. They don't like bacon, so they don't like you. So you take them out for us, guys. So I'm a little depressed for the hogs that lost their lives, but they did so bravely by taking out at least 3 ISIS militants and injured severely 5 more.
That is awesome. Also, I noticed that you've got another piggy story, Jana. So last week was the guinea pigs, and this week is...
I'm telling you, you can't turn it off. Once you go pig, you never go back. I need to come up with a better tagline.
Okay, well, while you're working on that, I'll tell everyone about my Ring the Bell. So, Bill Nye, the science guy, was played in my classrooms as the science guy. So that's just who he is, and I can't hear his name without hearing the song. But he has a new program on Netflix called Bill Nye Saves the World, which...
Very humble.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. He's the humblest. And in one of the episodes, I think it's the first episode, he has a panel and he talks about how there should be a tax on people who have, quote unquote, extra kids. And there's backlash over the term extra. Like, people are like, I can't pick one of my kids, like one of these is extra. But I would like to say historically, people have had an heir and a spare mentality. So I'm not going to fault him for that. But I just wanted to know, on the science, this is what made me upset. On the science, we are heading towards a negative birth rate. So this lie of overpopulation in the United States is ridiculous. And currently we're at 1.86 children per family. So it's not the United States that's overpopulating. We're not going to...
I feel like Planned Parenthood should have stepped in and said, we're killing them as fast as we can, dude. Like, I mean, come on.
Well, I don't understand why America always has to feel bad for other people's problems. We don't even have the largest population on the planet, so why is it that we have to feel bad for those things? It goes for population. It goes for what is it? The pollution, all of that. Like, we're the ones that are supposed to feel bad because America is so horrible. But generally speaking, all of those things are bigger problems somewhere else. So why do we have to constantly be the ones that are like, oh, we got to fix ourselves to make things better?
Right. I mean, the average Western civilization countries, all of the birth rates are in decline. Some countries in Europe are in negative.
Japan, I think, is a negative, right?
They
currently don't have enough people to take care of their elderly people, which is why they're making robots.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My people.
Side note here, real quick little side note. I remember a couple of years ago when this was this discussion, and Russia's solution to this was giving people paid days off to go make babies. Not even kidding.
They wanted to bring in Boys to Men to get people in the romantic mood. Like, they have the craziest ideas in Russia, but then they imprison people for being overly sexual. So Russia can't really get together. But Bill Nye, I mean, there's been so many jokes. Matt Walsh had an article listing all his qualifications if Bill Nye is qualified to talk about climate science and stuff. And he's like, I've watched all these movies, so that makes me qualified. I mean, people are just getting ridiculous. And it makes me sad because, Bill Nye, the science guy, was fun. And he brought a lot of, fun experiments to the classroom for us. But
also got us out of class. See, I was always excited that they were rolling in the TV when I was, when I was in elementary and middle school. It was like, all right, we won't have to sit through any more lecture. Woohoo!
And this is going to feed into Courtney's Ring the Bell, but he was on record talking about how there's only 2 genders and you can't change it. And apparently in our culture, we can change anything we want. So, Courtney.
Yep.
We're not octopuses. We can't change our DNA like that. My story, Rachel Dolezal. I always forget how to say her name. I'm sorry.
Dolezal.
Dolezal? Oh, that sounds better, actually. We'll go with that. Dolezal. She is going, she's got her book and everything, and she's talking about how she is transracial. And that's not really going over very well with the Black community. They're like, oh, heck no, you don't get to say that you're Black. And I just want to say that why not? If a boy can say that he's a girl just because he says it, if a 35-year-old man can say that he is a 6-year-old girl and the world has to accept it, why can't she say that she is actually Black? I don't understand where the line is being drawn on this, because I really would like someone to define it, because if it's based on the struggle of the Black community, they feel that she's, appropriating their culture, well, then it's appropriating a gender. If someone switches, says that they're, a different gender now, or it's appropriating an age to claim a different age that you're not. So I don't understand what the legit complaint is, because the precedent has already been set for this kind of slide. I don't know what we call it here, but anyway, so that was just kind of interesting to me. I don't understand why Rachel Dolezal can't accept herself for who she is. She might not feel like she is white, but why does she have to be something else? Why can't she just be Rachel? Why does she have to have this identity beyond who she is? So that's kind of
doesn't make her famous.
Right. Exactly. Good point.
Well, we are running up against the clock. So, Jana, do you want to remind people where they can find us?
If you don't know by now, where have you been all this time? But if you are interested in joining us on Saturdays, we do our live tweet sessions when our podcast drops, which is at 6 o'clock Eastern Time on Spreaker. You can tweet with us on Twitter at Bells of Liberty. If you're interested in following us on Facebook as well, you can find us at The Bells of Liberty on Facebook. And if you'd like to listen to all of our old shows, you can find us on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music. You can go to lanterns.buzz, which is the Lanterns Radio Network webpage, and they have radio playing there all day. So you can hear us and other shows, but mostly us, but other shows. If you're interested.
Just listen to us.
Yeah, but just listen to us, because we're awesome, right?
We tell you things that no one else will.
Exactly, and we'll tell it to your face. So, anyway, go ahead, follow us on social media, listen to our shows, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to the Bells of Liberty podcast. Want to listen to more sassy content? All shows are available free on demand on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play Music. Have something to say? You can find us on Twitter at Bells of Liberty, and also on Facebook, www.facebook.com/The Bells of Liberty. And as always, keep calm, and ring on.